What's up, guys? Alex here, licensed CPA, Realtor, and I'm here with Dean Graber.
All right, everybody, I am Dean Graber, and with Keller Williams Realty Landmark, Team NWE.
Yep, yes, sir. And actually, you know what? I just had a memory. You were actually one of the first agents when I walked into this office. You're like, hey, by the way, were you stuck on something? I was getting ready for an open house, and I was a little flustered. And he's like, hey, by the way, my name's Dean, right? And you walked me through the front desk stuff.
Yeah.
And then you gotta, like, by the way, if you have questions, just, give me a call. There was no thing of like, oh, let's work together, and it's like, if you need help.
That was it.
That was it. There was no sell. There was no, just, if you need help, let me know.
Do you need help?
I'm gonna need a lot of help.
Okay, good.
so just remember you offered.
I know.
Okay.
And it's
That is true.
It's happening right now. So yes.
So now that I got you here, let's dig a little towards the back, right?
Okay.
Let's see, where did you start and how did you end up here?
Okay. Wow. Where did I start? I started in the mortgage business for over 20 years. I was doing that. Got a little bit tired of the mortgage business, so my mind started opening up to what else can I do.
Right.
And I was at a closing, and it was a Keller Williams agent on the other side of the closing, attending the closing also. And she did a really good job speaking with me, and I'm like, well, I want to do what she does. I'm thinking about that. And she's my sponsor here, and she got me in here for an interview. I didn't join up right away, but it planted a seed. And ultimately, I made the shift. I thought I could do both for like one client, but no. So I made the shift over to real estate.
I mean, was there? I'm sure there was like a little bit of a. All right, let me just feel this out. But what was that like final nail in the coffin?
The final nail in the coffin was I actually thought real estate was going to be much easier than the mortgage business. I thought it was, I just did. That's God's honest truth. I was doing one for 20 years, and I thought, you know what, I can relax a little bit. This is going to be a little bit easier. And it really turned out that working on the same transactions, appraisal problem, or, title, buyer, seller, it's the same deal. So it's just being on a different side of the table, but it's the exact same thing.
Well, I mean, look, you stuck with it. And actually, I don't know how long you've been in this business.
I've been at Keller Williams 11 years, so 11 years in real estate. I've been here the whole time I'm in real estate, except for a couple of months at the beginning.
Well, mistakes can be forgiven, right?
Yep, and it was, and it is.
So, I mean, look, then in that case, there's going to be a little bit of that proof is in the pudding type deal. If memory serves, I saw your face up in a couple things recently because numbers were quite impressive, right? You want to dig into that a little bit?
All right, so I work with Evan St. Gerard at Team NWE, and we work with buyers and sellers, but we've been really just trying to, we're both in coaching, different coaching schools, but both in coaching, and we're just trying to really help as many people as we possibly can. And sticking to a schedule, sticking to a few things that have been proven from other people, so I'm following what other people have done that's worked, and I'm trying it myself, and I'm finding it works, so we're doing it.
Hell yeah. I mean, you feel like bragging a little bit, or do you wanna just leave
bragging.
the numbers?
No,
I want, look, you're not bragging because as I spoke to you, you're not the type to be like, hey, dude, I killed $30 million. But I mean, look, it's one of those things where your hard work and dedication leads to places, right?
Right.
For me, it's just I like numbers.
Okay.
So if I were to ask you, I mean,
all right. So numbers closed this year. By year's end, by the end of the week, we'll have 40 transactions closed for the year. It'll be in the low 20 millions as far as that goes. But more importantly to me, so business goes up, what we've done goes up about 25% a year as far as, or 20% a year from the previous year. But going into 2022, we've got, I think, 24, 25 transactions in our pipeline. Most of them are in contract. So that number is big. We can't always help the timing on the closings. So that, we just have to sit there and just know that 2022 is actually going to even be a bigger year because they have half of the deals that close this year are just sitting right there waiting to close, and they're going to close in January, February, and March.
I like it. Okay, so another reason why I kind of wanted to get you in this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Is I noticed that when I was kind of creeping through your YouTube videos and whatnot, that you do like numbers. You actually like to be a student of more than just this game, right? You like to look at how other things that affect this market.
Yes.
Hey, I'm gonna put it out there. I am not on your elite level.
No, stop it.
But I have curiosities, right?
You're a CPA.
I am a CPA, right? And I realized that I kind of poo-pooed my CPA for a long time, right?
Okay.
And part of it was when I started that process, I went to school, and then, for me, I was like, look, I don't know what I want to do. I know that I don't like school enough to be a doctor.
Okay.
Thankfully, my parents were kind of along the lines of like, don't.
Just 3 days off a week.
Mm-hmm. I know. But, as I went to school, I was like, look, at the very least, I'm not going to go hungry if I go to business school, right? And so as I went to business school, the gen eds, I was like, okay, this accounting thing makes sense.
Okay.
So I just didn't really think anything of it, followed that through. And then as I graduated college, I was like, I don't have it, like, what am I going to, damn it, I don't want to really do this, but I'm already kind of bought in. And my grandmother got sick around that time, so I was like, look, I promise you, I will see this thing through, right? And so I got my CPA license. Started in the work world, and I think I used my CPA license a year, maybe.
Okay.
Right. So
Not much
like,
to say. Okay.
right. I go into like hospital finance and and all this other stuff, and I'm like, I don't really use my CPA. But now that I'm like, as I get older, I'm like, I'm working this 9 to 5. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And so as I talk to more like millionaires and like wealthy, like successful, happy people, they're like, dude, it's
Very important. You said happy people too.
right. And it's that's that money chase. Right?
Right.
And so they're like, look, you gotta understand the markets, you gotta understand this, and then as you get up in that tip, like, look, at the end of the day, do you think the government's gonna save you? No. Do you think
Nope.
that, like, you rely on yourself and the people that you surround yourself with?
Right.
So part of it is gonna be, if you have, like, you're a CPA, right? How do you not understand, like, the reason why we're making all this money is because we understand tax law, or we have someone that understands tax law. I'm like, but tax law is such a thing. It's like, I get it, but I don't need to know tax law, script and verse. I have a person who understands that for me.
Right. So you know where to go to get the answer when
Right.
you need it.
And the second thing is, I
But
own
you're
real
the
estate.
resource.
Right.
To everybody looking for that.
So now I'm like, okay, so maybe I should start like re-studying this and learning
Right.
this. And the more I see that area, the more I understand. I'm like, oh wow, like when I thought tax law was something punitive,
Right.
like we're gonna hit you for this, we're gonna hit you for this, and they're like, no. Read more chapters, and then you understand tax law is, we're literally telling you, these are the things that we want you to do because the government we're not efficient with this. You do it,
Okay.
and we'll give you tax incentives, right? And it so happens real estate is a huge one,
Right.
right? And so for me, I'm like, all right, so I get the tax side. It's like, so what are you doing with your money? I mean, your business is making a lot of money, but I see pictures of yachts, bro. He's like, real estate, very simple. I started off
There's
with
a lot of people in real estate that have done very well. It doesn't just mean that you're buying or you got lucky. It just means you're working hard, you're listening, you're learning.
right? And that, I think, obviously, I do want to help people at all stages.
Right.
That, for me, part of the reason of me going to real estate is not, I want to buy and sell you a house. It's,
Right.
I want you to understand that this opportunity that you have before you. And if you're okay with it, I will do my absolute best to walk you through every step. Whether it's just, I want my personal home,
Right.
and I'll be safe in my home, all the way up to is like, okay, so we bought a house, and I think we want to try to see if we could expand this a little bit.
Okay.
Or maybe have the investor who wants, hey, look, I have 5 properties under my belt. Let's go bang out another one.
Well, I mean, in the past, from generation before us, people would buy a home, get a 30-year mortgage, pay off the mortgage over 30 years, and that would be their retirement. But I don't know for sure, but I simply don't think that that's enough right now to retire on. So you have to expand on that a little bit.
Right. And
A lot, probably.
and it's absolutely true, right? Like when I look at, so they recently increased, the the Social Security rate, right? The amount that but I tie that into, okay, when was the last time they updated that cost of living adjustment, essentially, right? In comparison to the inflation that is hitting.
Well, it's very little. I mean, the Social Security, it goes up based on the CPI, right? And so it can go up 2% a year, but that's very, very little.
Right.
I don't think that that's realistic to what your increased expenses are every year, at least not for me or for anyone I know.
Of course, and I think that's what hurts my heart. Like I think I actually lost track of how many people who were like, oh yeah, well just, I'll have my Medicare and I'll have my Social Security. I'm fine. I don't need a lot. Like, you need to eat.
Yeah.
You need to, like, you might look at that dollar amount and say, hey, my grandma did just fine. And like, if you extrapolate the difference.
Your grandma might not have had the lifestyle that you have. You
Right.
also, in retirement, you have to plan on how you're going to dial back your lifestyle as far as your expenses. You have to plan on what you're going to be cutting out and are you going to be comfortable with that. If you're comfortable with it, that's fine. But if most people were used to doing, A, B, and C on a regular basis and traveling 2 or 3 times a year and driving a nicer or newer car, and now you can't do that. You have to factor that into where you're going to be comfortable at.
And the other side, I mean, I make two. Well, I make a bunch of, but two of the ones that I always fall back on is one of the issues is there's this. It's not my saying. I forget who said it, but once a luxury is enjoyed, it becomes a necessity.
Oh, you know what? I never heard that, but I think that in a sense. So
like there are certain things where you're like, oh, this luxury, but once you enjoy certain things, like the first things that come out of your mouth is I need it.
Right.
And the second one is one of those. If you want to simplify and minimize your life, it should be by choice, not out of necessity.
Correct. I agree with that.
And so for me, it's like, oh, I don't need a lot. All right, good. So why don't we do it this way? If you are in a position where you can, why not just do that? And if you don't need it, well, there's something called a charitable remainder trust. You could donate it, and right? Like,
okay.
But
well, that you know more about. I don't know about that.
But I mean, there are options, and for me, it's just look. Don't trust anyone that can just unilaterally just say, hey, you know what? Haha, just kidding, right? Trust yourself.
Yep.
Trust in things that you can do. I like to trust numbers, right? And so, for instance, when I look at CPA data and CPI, and I look at things like how much did shelter go up? How much did like your cost of living overall? And I think the last number was upwards of like all things inflation were something like 6.8% as of November.
Right.
I might have to double check.
No, that sounds about right. Yeah.
But I mean, that's only November.
That's high.
Yeah. And I had I'm sure you have friends who are still W-2, and they're sitting there like, look, I'm due for a raise, and it's like they're only gonna give me 3%, and they think that it's a raise.
It's not a raise. It actually, and if it's 3% and inflation is 7%, they're actually going backwards, and they're not growing. So even if they got a raise that was equal to inflation, then they're still stagnant. Stagnant's not great.
And now we're in this position where, as we see these real estate deals come and go, and we're realizing, hey, look, that same $100,000 you think you were good for, if your raises aren't keeping up with inflation, well, guess what? That complaint that you could never afford a house, which we're finding a lot of times are actually not true, right? It's just a story that they told themselves, but it's that gap is going to get bigger. Right. So what do you want to do? Do you want to keep waiting for the market to crash? I mean,
well, all right. I have an issue with that right there. Just the timing transactions and stuff like that. The time to buy, the time to sell, the time to move. First, it has to start with when you want to. Do you want to be moved? Do you want to buy? Do you want to sell? Whatever. Do you want to invest? You can't time the market with this. There's no way to time the market with this. Sometimes you'll have a better result because the market cooperated with you. Sometimes maybe not completely the best possible result, but a good result. The market didn't cooperate with you, but you can't time it. The only timing is your own timing. To me.
No, I'm 100%. For me, I have that thing that I keep saying. If you keep trying to time the market, you're going to get timed out. Period.
Okay.
Right. And so they're like, well, is it a good time? Like, it depends. What are your goals? What do you have aside? And what are your numbers that you're looking like? If you're trying to buy the most expensive house on the block, you might have some trouble. Right?
Yeah.
But if you're going to be reasonable with your expectations in terms of your finances, you could build up to that.
Yep.
Right? Just play smart. And there's no, the market's hot. Yeah, the market's hot, but then go back to numbers. Make sure those numbers make sense for you.
Yeah, well, the other thing with the market, I mean, rates are low right now, the prices are high. We know that. So rates go up, maybe the prices come down a little bit. It's still going to be the same house at the same monthly payment for you.
Right.
So I don't know that anything's, when interest rates go up, if home prices did drop a little bit, because there's a few less buyers that are able to jump into the market right now, ultimately your monthly payment's going to be the same. That's what I think, anyway.
And
at least for right now, just looking into 2022, there's lower rates now. Rates should be higher at the end of the year. House prices, I don't know where they're going to be, but if they did drop 3 or 4% and interest rates went up a little bit, you're going to be at the same spot anyway.
Right, and that's the other side of it. They're like, well, how do you know? I'm like, we don't know. Do we have a crystal ball? No, but what we could do is make an estimated guess, right? And they're like, well, 2008, the market crashed and the market was hot. Yeah, but the fact is that we understand now that you might not, right? This is why we study.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have these crazy mortgages that were out in the ether, right? I mean, we have a low inventory rate right now.
Well, people that had no business buying a house were buying homes.
Right? And then they're not trying to do that again.
No.
Right? So, I mean, the other side of this then becomes, like, let me guess. It's always a good time to buy or sell, right? Because you want my commission. Why the hell am I going to pay you this commission anyway? Right? What are you actually doing?
Okay, what am I doing for my commission? Is that the question?
Yeah, like, why am I paying you?
All right, that's a great question. Just according to NAR, National Association of Realtors, people who sell their homes with a realtor net more money in their pocket. I know the thought is always that, well, if I'm going to sell my house for $1 and I'm going to pay you a nickel, how am I going to make any more money? It's very simple. With a realtor, you're going to have more people, more eyes on your home, more bidding on your home. The home that you sell, you're emotionally attached to. And usually when you're emotionally attached to something, it is really hard to negotiate in your own best interest. And hear, the criticisms of the home and take that, to heart, that it's a real economic criticism, let's say, not anything else. But we'll get more buyers more eyeballs, more buyers, be able to negotiate as an outsider, professionally negotiate, because that's what we do for a living. Yep. The other thing is there's leaks where your money can leak out of a deal. Your money can leak out on a low appraisal. We will participate with the appraiser by meeting them there, providing comparables. Your money can leak out during the home inspection. You can have a buyer who's asking for way too much, where there are ways to satisfy that buyer and just give them a very little and keep you, good with your money. There's title problems at closing that need to be worked out, and sometimes we can help favorably work them out with the research that we do and with the input from the history that we have. And then there's the opportunity lost, your own time. How much time are you going to really spend on this?
Of course.
What do you do when that great buyer wants to come by at 11 in the morning and you work in New York City and you're in Manhattan? What do you do?
Right. So then, like, for me, I akin that to, like, especially with typical guys, right?
Yeah.
Dudes often think that they can fight better than they actually can.
Yeah.
Right. And so oftentimes you're like, oh, I can sell this myself. I negotiated everything in my life. Okay. Well, statistics are a thing. So when I look at FSBOs, or for sale by owners, typically 25% of them actually sell, and if they do, it's months, like later down the pipeline. So that plus the amount of money that you're making.
Yeah.
I look at statistics, right?
Well, you can certainly sell on your own. The only question is always the question is just, what money might you be leaving on the table?
Right. And it turns out it's a lot more than people will expect, right? And so it's like the carry cost. So what are you paying? Your mortgage, your insurance, your utilities, the extra time lag, you're paying that out of pocket, right? And then they think, oh, I'm not paying you your commission. I'm gonna save the commission money and I'll still make more money at the end. No, statistically, right?
Yeah.
Look, if you knock it out of the park, power to you.
I'm not saying it's never going to work as
right.
FSBO.
Right, and I'm also going to be like, look, can it work? Yes, but I like statistics. You like your odds, you play your chances. But on a statistic level, according to the National Association of Realtors, you're not making more money than if you worked with an agent.
Right.
You're just not, right? Statistically.
Right, and remember I mentioned the leaky money.
Yep.
You have to be worried what leaks out, what are you giving up as you go along, and how do you professionally negotiate to keep that money on your side?
And that's the thing of, like, for me, one of the things that I like to use is, look, are you gonna if you need surgery, are you gonna do it yourself?
There you go.
Right? Like, there's a reason. Like, there are certain things you can do. Right? Can you pull a splinter out of your own finger? Yes. Right? But if you have an open wound,
can you cut your own hair? Is my bad joke, but
yes. Right. That's right up there, though, right? Like, there's a reason why you pay a person who's mastered that thing.
Right.
Right. That's what you pay them. And in our case, it's also almost like a way of insurance, right? Because we're covering you. Like, our job is to look out for your best interest.
Correct.
Right? And so if we see time and time again certain things get people in trouble, we know. We should know. And we're going to be like, hey, look,
Well, it's seeing a problem before it becomes your problem, because it's happened to so many other people. Absolutely. And we've seen it so many times. And we advise you how to walk around that.
Absolutely.
How to avoid that.
And then, if obviously they're going to be like, well, that means that all agents are just going out for a listing. No. There are, look, do we want to be listing agents? Absolutely, right? Because then we control more variables, right? To keep everyone safe. But if in the event that we are a buyer's agent, look, we've been on both sides of this table now. We know how the game's played. So we know what things aren't going to do anything in this negotiation, but we know what buttons to push. Like, hey, look, this is a problem, and you want your sellers to sell for this? Like, it's not going to make sense.
Yeah, whether you're a buyer's agent or a seller's agent or representing a buyer or the seller on a deal, first thing that comes to my mind and the most glaring thing is the value of the property. Sometimes values have gone up, because of multiple bids on a home right now, but the appraiser, don't forget, is looking back 90, 120 days. So when you're making an offer on a home, or you're listening to an offer as a seller, you have to know what it's going to appraise for, and we can see what it's going to appraise for. Doesn't mean it's what it's worth today, but that's how the bank is going to calculate that. So if you're going to offer over, be prepared to pay the difference in the over that you're offering. You might need to come up with it out of your pocket. You might not be able to finance it. If you're a seller and you hear of an offer that's higher, that's great, but if you're not asking the buyer, by the way, do you have that extra $40,000 that you're paying over in your account, liquid and available? And are you willing to spend it if it doesn't appraise, or you're going to come back to me in 30 days and say, hey, it didn't appraise, lower my price, when it might be worth every bit of up here, but the bank is, again, the bank's not looking here, the bank's looking over there. So you have to know that, and that's a huge amount of money. That's $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 that could disappear. And there's another piece to that. And the time that takes to occur, what if the market did actually change a little bit and it dialed back to where it was 4 months ago? It's possible.
Right. And there's, I mean, like we always like to tell everyone else. You always try to ask, oh, but what if? I'm like, what ifs are what ifs.
Right.
I don't have. There's no way for anyone, right? Unless you travel through time, right? They're like, well, you should know. I'm like, no, we don't control markets. We know how to look into them.
Tell you what's going on in the current market and what's happened the last time the market was here.
Right. And then we could discuss if scenarios, hypothetically, if some options, right? But I can't guarantee the market's gonna swing either which way, right? And so the other side of this then also becomes planning, right? Like obviously, unless you are in that field licensed, right? Like for instance, I can't talk to someone about law, right? I can't tell you what legal, right?
We don't do contracts. We're not appraisers. We can tell you what a suggested good price to list a home for. We can tell you a lot about the value of a home, everything that's going on in the market, but I can't state a value.
Right. But at least we have the network to kind of really, these are the people you want to talk to, and we could kind of get you in the right direction to make sure that you're covered.
Correct.
Right. And I know that we're pressed for time, and I definitely want to do this again.
Okay.
But is there anything, if you were to say two or three things that you should absolutely ask a realtor, when you're interviewing, what would they be?
2 or 3 things to absolutely ask a realtor. What is your track record for homes sold? Currently, how many homes do you have in your inventory? Are you an active agent, or are you really going to tell me anything I want to hear just to get my listing right now? You want to know that the person is an active agent, and also ask for referrals, references, people that you previously worked with, and see what other people have to say about yourself.
That's actually that's a. Honestly I didn't think about that, because I feel like. Because for me, usually when you try to work with people, you Google through them. I'm like, wait, why don't I just ask you hey, what were your clients? Can I talk to them? Because look, if you are doing the work that you say you do, you should have a fan base behind you. Be like, hey, look, Dean, yo.
Well, I like you calling it that, a fan base. So that is really important, because others can speak for you. It's hard to say. Of course, I'm going to say I'm a good realtor. I can sell your home. Of course, we're all going to say that, but. Listen to what other people have said.
Of course. And look, I get it. We're technically in the business of sales.
Right.
Technically, right? We're salespeople. However, and this is my own personal thing, because I cringe when it gets too salesy.
Right.
The minute I feel like you're trying to sell me on something, I'm like, what do you want? What do you want? Let's cut to the chase, cut the nonsense. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to list with you? Is that what you want?
Well, no. Can I say the thing when people say, that I'm a listing agent? I don't want to list your home. I want to sell your home, and I want to help out your family. If we're speaking, and I don't think that I can help you, if you tell me that, Dean, I need to be in another state in 30 days, and I don't think I can get you there in 30 days, then I'll tell you that. I'm probably not your agent, or I probably can't help you with that. If you're looking for a price that is not where the market is right now, I might just tell you I can't. I'm not going to be able to do that. So if I don't feel that I can help you, then I'll probably opt out from working with you, and I can maybe point you to somebody else. But I gotta be able to help you.
And that's actually opening up another interesting segue, right?
Yeah.
What do you wish clients knew, potential clients knew, before even coming talk to you or any other realtor?
How much work we do to prepare for the meeting when we meet with you, and really just from experience, what we do, what we're doing when we don't even know about you yet. What coaching are we in? What skills are we perfecting? What market stats, market research are we doing? Just so that we're ready to pick up the phone and just introduce ourselves to you.
And I think, it's been like almost like a clever comeback. They were like, well, why am I paying for your class? I'm like, well, do you pay for your doctor for his training? I think you do, right? Because the hospital bill that comes in, right? Or how about your mechanic, right? You want to cry and complain, but you still pay them, right? Why? Because you're paying for his experience. You're paying for the quality of his work. You're paying for that value, right? So yeah, part of our training, the expert condition of care that we give you, right? That value is a result of all the hours, the thousands of dollars that we spent, so we could be at service to you.
Correct.
Right. So you want to say this isn't a college education? Yeah. Guess what? What did college actually teach you?
Yeah, well, this is, I'm in ongoing coaching. I mean, every morning I go through this class and this routine every morning that I come in here 7:38 in the morning, and I have regular weekly coaching. My business partner, Evan St. Gerard, is in weekly coaching, and we're in mastermind groups for all kinds of groups. This office offers a ton of, really almost daily at this point, updates on the market, on the industry, on things that are changing in laws, rules, fair housing laws, anything, appraisal requirements, everything. And we're up on it. I want to continue to keep learning what's going on in the business, just so that I am prepared when I have the opportunity to meet with somebody.
Yeah, and you know what? So that we don't drag this too far.
Too far?
Too far. Look, I like talking, right? And that gets me in trouble.
Yeah.
And I want to save some for next time.
Okay.
But if you have any questions, do not hesitate. Reach out to my man here, Dean. You can always reach out to me. Save yourself the headache and just drama. Reach out to the people that do that work, right? So with that said, I hope it helps. Oh,
yes.
Before we wrap this up, where can they find you?
Easiest way, call me. I actually pick up the phone. 516-527-9549. Dean Graber at kw.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn also. Thanks.
So, with that said, I hope this was helpful, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
All right. Thanks a lot.